Welcome back to the Credit Shelf. You're joining me on a rainy, drizzly, cloudy evening in Brussels. But welcome to new people and welcome back to those who already know me. This is the Credit Shelf in Brussels. Now, without further ado, I'm going to jump straight into this month's deep dive, which is a little bit different from my normal. So most of the time I will take one tarot deck and just really focus on that and do a card a day or a few card a day pulls. I might mix in other tarot decks, but there will be one tarot deck that I definitely use throughout the whole month. And I post those kind of like pulls on my Instagram. I sometimes use that deck when I'm reading for others and mix it in with other decks that I'm using. But there's really basically one deck that's the theme for the month. And I've done that, let's say, with the Forest of Enchantment or the Everyday Witch or the Darkwood Tarot or the Phantasma, etc. This month, September, I decided to do a different kind of like take, and that's because I decided I wanted to do a creator focus. I have already bought the crowtarot in, the crowtarot in August 2020 when I came back to tarot, and since then I have really fell in love with mjcullinane's artwork. She's very active on Instagram if you want to follow her. And I basically just couldn't wait to get my hands on more of her decks. Now, they are originally published always in indie and then they go over to mass market. Not all of them, but some of them do. And so given the fact that I live in Europe, it was just easier for me to invest in her mass market decks. So out of the four that I'm going to show you, one is an indie deck, the others are mass market. Now, the four that I'm going to show you is the Crow Tarot, the Urbancroworacle, the Förhäxa Tarot, and Guardians of the Night. The decks that I don't have are the Raw Oracle, the Grimalkin Tarot, and also Wise Dog Tarot, all three of which I plan to get at some point for sure. And there is also another deck that's currently in the pipeline, which I know images are being shown on mjcullinane's Instagram page, which you can check out there. As a side note, I'm probably butchering the surname. I'm not sure, mjcullinane or Cullinane. Sorry about that. But without further ado, let me just go straight into it. So now the first deck that I'm going to show you is the Crow Tarot. It's a deck that I've shown many times on this channel. I consider this one of my favorite decks. And now I have to say, 2 years on, it's definitely one of my favorite decks. I might swap it out with one of the other mjcullinane decks in the top 10 in the future. That could happen. But you know what I mean. Basically, her artwork has got to feature in my favorites. Now, what I understand from mjcullinane's background is that she was raised south of Boston, but currently lives, sorry about that, my voice is going today, currently lives in Seattle. I personally fell in love with this magic around urban, sorry, I don't know what's happening with my voice today. This magic around urban and animal and forest and city landscapes. That's where there was just so much magic. It's kind of like that edge between the urban life and then we cross into the wilderness and then playing this kind of role between the two. So that's what I think I've fallen in love with. And the Crow Tarot definitely does that. Now, as some of you or many of you probably know by now, I am an avid runner. So I see the crows very frequently in the mornings when I'm out in the park. I see them more actually in the large park than, let's say, near the ponds where I go running and all of that kind of thing. Definitely more near the parks. And, you know, mjcullinane talks about this. I find them very intelligent, astute, clever creatures. You know, sometimes I look at a crow and I feel as if they're just looking straight back at me and looking straight into my soul. That's the feeling I get. One of the reasons why I absolutely love this deck was its movement and its energy. I love the collage work in here. I love sometimes that this has some humor. I love how she's been able to show emotion through just body language and poise. I especially like in all of her work, and it will come out in other work, the use of objects and animals together. I don't know how else to put it. Like sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't to me. In this deck, there is a harshness and a coldness which really makes me feel like it just understands feelings so well. And I really feel like I'm on a journey with the crow. I'm out there in the cold, feeling left out at times, and discovering something shiny and new, and telling people which way to go. Just it's a very clever deck. That's what I think. And I really like the US. This is the US Games mass market version. I like actually how US Games have done it. Normally I'm sometimes annoyed with mass market productions, but this time I'm okay with it. I even think that I like the borders. This has got to be one of my favorite devil cards of all time. I mean, that's striking. I love the way that, I don't know if it's a robin, a blue tit, I don't know, a finch, something, this bird, and it can't, it's chained. It's just so, like, it's cruel, but it's real, how we feel chained. So yeah, I just think I just love Four of Swords. It's always made me laugh. This card is just clever. This deck is just clever. And it was my first MJ Cullinane deck, and I am not looking to declutter or anything like that. It's just evocative, and it definitely just, every time I see crows, I just feel that energy from this deck, and vice versa. It also always reminds me of the 90s film The Crow with Brandon Lee, which, when I was growing up in the 90s, I remember watching that movie late at night, making sure that nobody in my family knew I was watching it, because, I know, it would have been like, oh, you can't watch that kind of thing, especially with, my parents and stuff. But I watched it, and I really got, that outsider feeling. I understood what it was like in terms of being an outsider, not being accepted, facing our darkness, facing the things that we're addicted to and we can't get away from, and the pain that it causes us, and loss. If you're someone that's experienced loss very early in life, a deck like this for me just really goes into that space of coldness, and knowing death when we're very, very young. So it's definitely one of my favorites. Okay, so that was the Crow Tarot, and I'm just thinking while I'm here, perhaps I can just give you a bit of a taste of the guidebook. Before I forget, these are the backs. And in terms of the guidebook, because I've never done a deep dive, I don't think I've done a deep dive on this deck. So let's take the Two of Swords here. And in terms of the Two of Swords, what does it say? So we don't get a lot, which I like actually. It's not overwhelming. You just get a couple of paragraphs. I'm just going to read a few lines. I'm not going to read it all. It says, the blindfolded crow balances herself in the blades of two swords. She calmly stays in place, unable to see the edges or where to safely hop to next. She is afraid of making a dangerous or painful mistake. The Two of Swords suggests you may find it difficult to make a significant decision because you feel you're unable to see the full picture, or that there is a valuable information that is being withheld. If you're feeling stuck, evaluate where the fear is coming from and look for the steps and information you need to proceed safely. And then it gives you a few lines on the reversal. I think this is great. It's sometimes I like decks which has a guidebook which goes straight to the point. It's very clear and concise, a little white guidebook, little white book kind of thing. And this deck does that. So and as usual, I really like US Games packaging and quality. So there you go. So the one after that I'm going to go to straight away to the Urban Crow Oracle. Now this came out, I think, in Europe in mass market June, something like that, June or July 2022. This is the Hay House mass market version. So yes, so now I've done an unwrapping of this deck. I absolutely love it. I'm not a fan of the production or quality of it, to be very frank, but I love the creation of it in itself. And this video, I'm really focusing on that rather than like card quality and blah, blah, blah. So, so these are the backs, before I forget, which I think they're gorgeous. And this is now becoming one of my favorite oracle decks ever. The actual keywords are just, you don't really need to go insight. What does that mean? This is problem solving, communication. I mean, the keywords really just give us everything. Curiosity. And I really, really love this urban setting. I love its darkness, its interplay with magic. Somebody said this on my Instagram, that like they really, really, they were drawn in by the cityscapes, and that's why I think this is a great deck. So before I forget, you can see on Insta how I mixed these decks together, because I really did a lot of that last month, September. And they blend really well together, these decks, by the way, as well. Illusion. This is a continuation of that crow energy. I love this deck. I mean, waterproof. Look at the somberness of that. So, some people say they don't like the anthropomorphization of animals, which I understand. This deck doesn't do that for me. It just conveys the emotion really, really well without making it too human. Mimicry. I like the interplay with other animals. I like that it's not too fluffy and cute. It's just very real to me, this whole deck. Anticipation. Waiting. Yeah, so it's just a great oracle. And I'm going to do a card pull now so you get a little bit of idea. Now, I understand that this deck was again made by Cullinane's love of this like urban crow setting, and again the magic that it brings. So let's take Mischief, because I think this is a good one. Mischief, and see what it says. Yeah, the readings in the guidebook are not too long, and I actually like that because I don't feel then overwhelmed reading it. This is a great one card a day pull, one card a day, or a card to pull at the end of a reading, So this is what it says about Mischief. Crows and ravens have a penchant for pulling tails. Dog tails, cat tails, cow tails, even other bird tails. If it has a tail, a crow will feel compelled to pull it. It appears that some may be doing this to distract the animal, but other times it is purely just to get a rise out of the other creature. Mischief indicates an annoyance, nothing detrimental, just a situation that causes a bit of a short-lived grief. You may be the target of someone's delinquency or bad behavior. This card may also indicate that you need to add some innocent mischief or passion in your life. So yeah, these pieces are not too long, these meanings. And I love it for that. I don't feel overwhelmed when I am working with this deck. I love keywords like scavenge, like that scavenger energy, self-interest. I like the rawness of it. These decks are raw. And I've said this before, I feel like there's just so many decks, which I love, which are forest or out in the country and out in nature. And I love those decks. And you'll see me do lots more reviews of those. I also like decks that acknowledge the setting I live in, which is, very city basically. So this is the Urban Crow Oracle. It's retailing around the €20 mark right now from Hay House, or Amazon Book Depository, and I think it's a deck that I would caching. I think it's a deck that's just, it'd be great on its own. You don't even need to pair it with anything, and yet it will go and blend very, very well with something else that you have. Okay, so going on from there, I want to go on to the Guardians of the Night Tarot. Now, I was thinking like I'll just get either the Urban Crow Oracle or the Guardians. I was doing all of that, and the reason why I got them both was to do this big deep dive on Cullinane. I was like, I'm going for it. So this is another Hay House production, mass market now available from Book Depository and so forth. Also released June or July 2022. And yeah, so now this one comes with a border. So I find that quite interesting. These are the backs. I mean, it's got one of the most beautiful backs I've ever seen on a card deck. I think that's gorgeous. Yeah, I really love the imagery. I think this is collage work that reminds me again a bit more of the Crow Tarot rather than Urban Crow Oracle. I really love the imagery. I love the variety of animals in this. We've got animals from the jungle, from really wild settings, from urban landscapes, from different cultures. I just think she's done a great job of incorporating a huge plethora of species, and I really love the artwork. Now I know that this deck was born from MJ Cullinane's own experiences during the pandemic 2020. This feeling of being watched, being accompanied, being led by animal spirits in our urban and everyday landscapes. And that's, I think, where the idea came from, that we've got guardians, we're okay, we're protected. I just think it's a very clever deck. The one thing that annoyed me about this deck was Hay House's production, where the keyword or the title interferes with the artwork, because I think the artwork is stunning. But apart from that, I just think it's a great deck, and I think it's good if you want something which is RWS, but you want a different kind of imagery than the classic people imagery. And I don't feel this is an anthropomorphized deck either. But I do love the colors and the detail, and just this lightness I feel like a lightness of being when I see a deck like this. So let me do a little bit of reading on the Seven of Cups. This came up for me this month, and I really enjoyed the guidebook. Again, the guidebook on this deck is, like the others, not too overwhelming, which I personally appreciate. So let's look at the Seven of Cups and what it says. And it says, and again, she's taken the time to make sure that she's filled out each of them. You've got the wreath, the heart, a lion, a tree. So yeah, I mean, she's taken. I really like it when they do that with Seven of Cups, when creators do that instead of just putting 7 cups on there, to be quite honest. Okay, so it says here for Seven of Cups, it says, there is a fine line between dreaming big and becoming lost in a fantasy. The Seven of Cups asks that you allow your mind room to wander among the stars without restriction. However, you must remain aware of where your feet are planted. When we dream big, our creative mind expands, allowing for more opportunities. However, the difference between dreaming and living in a fantasy world is action. When you take steps to bring a dream to life, it transforms into a goal, sometimes far more powerful, and you increase your odds of making it real. The Seven of Cups may indicate a situation that may be limited due to your inability to envision something more than extraordinary. You may feel as though it is not possible, and as a result, a restriction is created. When you allow yourself to feel worthy of grand events or desires, your opportunities will become only limited by your imagination. However, the Seven of Cups may indicate you are spending too much time daydreaming about what could be instead of focusing on the present moment. Without action, you are no closer to achieving your goal by merely envisioning it. And then there's a little bit more, but I won't go into it because I've already read quite a bit. But he says here, rabbit, abundance, reproduction, open, creativity, luck. So yeah, I just really think it's great. You've got plenty there to go on, and I really like the variety of animals we see. Somebody remarked on my Instagram that they really love this Ace of Swords, and I do too. I just find that I find that the artist's artwork, just their way of creating these images is amazing. So I've really enjoyed working with this deck, and how much, again, we're just going from urban to nature, and it's done really, really well. And magic. I want to say urban, nature and magic together. So the last one I'm going to show is an indie deck, and I bought it. I think I put the order in, I think it was not February. It was maybe December, and I decided, this was before MJ Cullinane began selling on Etsy, but I decided I really, really wanted to give it a go. One of her indie decks, and I'd seen the Förhäxa and I'd fallen in love with it. And I am a Fae person, just through and through. That is always going to be my first and foremost favorite decks to work with, is the Fae. And if I was just left alone to my own devices, I think the whole shelf would be like 80% Fae and 20% other things, and it'd be like, okay, there's absolutely no balance there. But there you go. So this is MJ Cullin's own indie production. It's a beautiful matte box. It comes with a small guidebook. There is also a larger guidebook available from Amazon. And let's go straight into the cards, which I love to do. Now, these are very slippery cards, but over time they've become less slippery, which I don't know how that happened, but they have. These are the gorgeous back, which just really remind me of that very middle-aged time, even though it isn't, it just does. And there is an antiquity in this deck, an antiquity of Fae, which I think is just magic. It's just magic. It really reminds me also of the movie Maleficent with Angelina Jolie, but some of the images, not all of them, but I just love this. Now, we have different Faes here. So it's not traditional one type of Fae or fairy energy. I like that they're different colors. I love this blue, this luminous feeling. I love the costumes, the clothing. I love the artwork that we have here. The colors are just gorgeous in this deck. It's a stunning deck. Ooh, it's a stunning deck. Hold on a second, I just want to rescue that. And I love the emotions and the love. This adventure. I'm on an adventure here, a Fae adventure. Sometimes the sadness that we have. I mean, that's striking. That 10 of Swords there. Yeah, I just love also the proportions, how large this fox is in this image, you know. The beauty of these feathers. I think MJ Cullinane just is so good with bringing especially that bird energy and that flight energy in. There's something very special. I find this deck to be very fiery. I can't get my words. Fiery and fairy. And there's a lightness and a spark that comes out of this deck. That's how I feel about it. And I don't know how else to say it, but it's like, it's a bit similar. It's similar to Tarot of the Hidden Realm, where I feel like it's a deck that represents me, which is like, what? But it does. It feels as if somebody's captured my fairy mood and known how to do it so well. And so, yeah, I just find that I'm in like another world, basically. Now, I understand Förhäxa, and I know I'm butchering it, in Swedish means enchanted, casting a spell, which is what this deck does, I think, with the reader. The guidebook is amazing. We're going to look at a card in a moment. But yeah, the guidebook is amazing. It has one of my favorite cards of all time. Let me just see if I can quickly find it, because when I saw this card, it just took my breath away, actually. It's like, and it's also got one of my favorite magician cards of all time. So yeah, let me see if I can find, though, or I might have to just keep going. But there is a card in here. Let me see if I can speed it up, which really captures me. I mean, just look at these. I think she does the elements so well in this. This is the magician card, which is my favorite magician of all time. I just think it's so cool. Okay, this is it, the 10 of Fire. When I saw this card, it's a bit like my feeling around the 6 of Swords in the Everyday Witch, or the Strength card in the crowtarot. There are times when a card will just take our breath away. Or let's say for me in the Hush Tarot, the Justice card, or in Tarot of the Hidden Realm, you know, it's the Queens. The Queens are very clever in that deck. Or when I think of the Court cards in the Dreaming Way Tarot, you know, or the Dream Keeper's Tarot, it's the 3 of Wands. There are certain cards that just are so embedded in my mind. And the 10 of fire and this, the 10 of wands, 10 of fire, it's just the fact that I can feel the weight coming down on her, and how her fairy wings are just about holding it up, and she's just about keeping it going, but she needs to really push off the ground and just do her best to carry that energy. And you know, and just, I remember when I saw this, it took my breath away. So yeah, this is a deck that I feel as if it's just a beautiful journey with beings that really capture the emotion for me. So let's take a reading from this one as well and just see what we have from the guidebook. So we look at let's look at the devil. Look at the features of that devil. So well done. Okay, so let me just do that without dropping everything. And let's get the guidebook. And again, it's not overpowering, you know, the amount of reading or text you get. So what do we have for the devil? We have about a page and a half. I'm not going to read all of it. We have here, and then we have a little bit here. So I'll just read a little to give you a flavour. That's the back. Here's the front. Okay. It says, there is a story the fairies tell their young as a cautionary tale. One of the most significant events in a fairy's life is when they go through a metamorphosis and gain their wings. It is when they are mature enough to receive the freedom of flight, freedom to travel great distances. This is why it is the fairy's wings that are so special, so important. The devil lives in the furthest most lake in the land. It appears the most beautiful mermaid anyone has ever seen from the shore, and sings a song that causes those who hear it to fall into a trance. It then promises its victims that they too can live the life of a mermaid, free to explore the seas. With just a couple of snips, they could wash away all the troubles that plagued them on the land. As soon as the fairy cuts off its wings and enters the sea, it realizes its mistake. But it's too late, as a beautiful mermaid transforms into a hideous creature who refuses to change the fairy into a mermaid. If it even can free itself from the monster of the lake, the fairy is now wingless and very far from home. It is said that only the very strong and committed ever make their way back home. I actually want to read the rest of this, actually. And then it says, the devil appears in a reading as a glimpse of the future, as a warning that you may be falling for the sweet sounds coming from something that seems enticing, yet may, in the end, prove to be detrimental. Are you falling into an unhealthy habit? Something is going on in your life when the devil appears that needs your attention. You may be looking to avoid a difficult situation, and a comforting tune may lead you down a path, in the end, will only cause future restrictions. Oh, wow. What a magnificent reading. It's so, I mean, just, you can see already, right, that with that, you can get so much out of it. And it's so pertinent to that devil energy, right? Where we're enticed. That's what addiction does. Addiction tells us that actually it's going to take away our pain and make things all okay. And that we can forget things when we're in that addiction. And yet in the end, addiction just causes more problems, you know, and then we're trapped. And we can be free, but it, you know, it's going to take work to get out of there. And I really, really love this deck. And I look at how the face changes of the devil, right? How we don't see what's happening until we're lost. So yeah, I just think it's an amazing deck. Elder of Water. I love here how the kings are also females, or female energy to me. Nine of Fire. King of Water. Yeah, just she's done an amazing job with this deck. This has got to be one of my, you know, again, if I'm going to do a top 10, I've always had the Crow Tarot, but if I had to have just one MJ Cullinane deck, this would be in the top 10 then of favorite decks of all time. I think it's going to become close to one of my favorite decks, full stop, basically. A soul deck for sure. I just really love how I see myself in the cards. I see myself as this so deep and dark, this energy. Queen of Fire. I mean, look at that Queen of Wands. She's my significator card, so I love her. This is my moon sign, my Queen of Wands. And yeah, so yeah, let me just quickly whiz through all the images in case you're interested in getting this deck. I'm hoping at one point it becomes mass market and available to everyone because it has been done so well. And I definitely think it's a masterpiece in terms of tarot decks. I've never seen anything like this. Maybe there are other decks like this, but I've never seen anything like this. And I'm going to be sad to have to leave her behind in order to do my October decks. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, or whatever you want to call it, the way the chips fall. But I can see myself taking this deck out again, let's say in the summer, you know, it'll be a great summer deck as well. Great autumn, summer energy. But yeah, so let me stop there with that Three of Fire. So thank you for joining me today. It is a bit of a long video because we've gone through 4 decks. I hope that gives you a flavour of MJ Cullinane's work. As I've already mentioned, there is also the Raw Oracle, the Wise Dog Tarot, and the Grimalkin, which I have not had the chance to review. There is also another tarot deck in the pipeline. Hopefully one day I can get my hands on that as well. I really love this artist. I love, again, her. It is, again, for me, again and again, nature, animals, fays, urban, and then we've got magic. You know, magic holds it all together. And I'm so grateful that I've been able to get hold of these decks actually and have a chance to work with them. Thank you for joining me for this special deep dive, and I will see you all again soon, hopefully next week. Take care now. Bye.